Hi guys, it's Miss Angela. I'm going to be sharing a book with you today. It is called Caps for Sale. It's one of the books that I really like. It's funny, I was looking at it and I noticed the book was made in 1940. That means this book was made 80 years ago. That's a long time. After we're done with the book, we have a little flannel board that goes with it, but I think you'll really enjoy it. There are a few things in the book that you might not know, so I'm going to tell you about it first. Oh, did you notice I was wearing a cap or a hat? In this book, there's this man, and he's going to be wearing some hats or caps on his head. A cap is a kind of a hat. He is a peddler. A peddler, that's a person who sells things, and they move around, they sell small things from one place to another place. And this guy in this book is a peddler, and he'll be selling some things. So I hope you like it. It's called Caps for Sale. And the author and the illustrator's name is Esper Slobakina. Oh, he dedicated this to Rosalind and Emmy Jean and to their grandfather who loved to read to them. I like to read to you guys. So here he is. I'll put this real close so you can get a better look at it. See all of those caps on his head? Well, let's look at them. So he has different color hats. Once there was a peddler who sold caps, but he was not like an ordinary peddler carrying his wares on his back. He carried them on top of his head. First, he had on his own checkered cap. That's that one all the way down here. So a checkered cap means it has lines in it that go up and down and side to side. Then he had a bunch of gray caps. And then he had a bunch of brown caps. Then he had a bunch of blue caps. And at the very top, a bunch of red caps. He walked up and down the street holding himself very straight so he didn't upset his caps. And as he went along, he cried, "Caps! Caps for sale! 50 cents a cap!" That's how much it cost to buy them. One morning, he couldn't sell any caps. He walked up the street and he walked down the street calling, "Caps! Caps for sale! 50 cents a cap!" But nobody wanted any caps that day. Nobody wanted even a red cap. He began to feel very hungry, but he had no money for lunch. "I think I'll go for a walk in the country," he said. And he walked out of town slowly, very slowly, so he didn't upset the caps on his head. He walked for a long time until he came to a great big tree. "That's a nice place for a rest," thought he. And he sat down very slowly under the tree and leaned back little by little against the trunk of the tree, so not to disturb the caps on his head. Then he pulled up his hand to feel if they were straight. First his own checkered cap, then the gray caps, then the brown caps, then the blue caps, then the red caps at the very top. They were all there, so he went to sleep. He slept for a long time. When he woke up, he was refreshed and rested. Oh, what's it look like he's doing? Before standing up, he felt on his head to make sure his caps were all in the right place. All he felt was his own checkered cap. He looked to the right of him. No caps. He looked to the left of him. No caps. He looked in back of him. No caps. He looked behind the tree. No caps. Then he looked up into the tree. And what do you think he saw? This This might surprise you. Oops. There we go. What did he see? On every branch sat a monkey. On every monkey was a gray or a brown or a blue or a red cap. This is strange. The peddler looked at the monkeys. The monkeys looked at the peddler. He didn't know what to do. Finally, he spoke to them. "You monkeys, you," he said, shaking a finger at them. "You give me back my caps." But the monkeys only shook their fingers back at him and said, "Tisk, tisk, tisk." This made the peddler angry. So he shook both hands at them, just like this. "You monkeys, you give me back my caps." But the monkeys only shook their hands back at him and said, "Tisk, tisk, tisk." Now he felt quite angry. He stamped his foot. "You monkeys, you give me back my caps." But the monkeys only stamped their feet back at him and said, "Tisk, tisk, tisk." By this time, the peddler was really very angry. He stamped both his feet and shouted, "You monkeys, you give me back my caps." But the monkeys only stamped both their feet and said, "Tisk, tisk, tisk." At last he became so angry that he pulled off his own cap and he threw it to the ground and he walked away. Oh, here he is. But then each monkey pulled off their cap. And all the gray caps, and all the brown caps, and all the blue caps, and all the red caps came flying down out of the tree. They were copying him. So the peddler picked up the caps and put them back on his head. First his own checkered cap, then the gray caps, and the brown caps, and the blue caps, and at the very top, the red caps. And slowly, very slowly, he walked back to town, calling, "Caps, caps for sale, 50 cents a cap." And that's the end. So this is a tale of monkeys and a peddler and caps. And I hope that you liked it. Bye, guys. Okay, so now we're going to look at the story and we're going to talk about it with a flannel board. So the story started off with a peddler. Here he is. And can you see him? He's wearing his checked cap. And he was trying to sell all of his caps. But instead of carrying them on his back, he put them on his head. And he had gray caps and brown caps and blue caps and red caps on top. But when he got so tired, he decided to take a break next to a tree. So he sat down next to a tree, he checked all his caps, and he closed his eyes and fell asleep. While he was sleeping, something really crazy happened. Some monkeys were on the tree and they took his caps. My monkey does not want to stay on the tree. Stay on there. They took his red caps. And they took his brown caps. Here's some more monkeys. They took his blue caps. And they took his gray caps. And when the peddler woke up, he had no more caps on his head, only his checkered cap. He looked to his right, he looked to his left, he looked behind him. He didn't see them until he looked up in the tree, and then he saw all his caps on the monkeys. So he said to the monkeys, "You monkeys, you give me back my caps." And the monkeys were like copycats. They copied him, and they shook their hand and said, "Tisk, tisk, tisk." And then he shook 2 hands, and the monkeys copied him again. Let's take this one. They shook 2 hands, tisk, tisk, tisk. Then he stomped his foot, and the monkey stomped his foot. Then he stomped both feet, and the monkey stomped their feet. He got so aggravated that he threw his cap on the floor, and the monkeys copied him, and they threw all their caps on the floor. And when he did that, the peddler picked up all his brown caps. He picked up all his blue caps. He picked up all his gray caps. And on the very top, he picked up all his red caps. And he put all those caps back on top of his head. And he was able to walk back to town, selling his caps and saying, "Caps, caps for sale, 50 cents a cap." I hope someone buys some of his caps. Have a good day.